I want to remind you of all the stuff that you learned in Year 7 and Year 8 on spreadsheets, and make sure that everybody's at the same point with some of the basic ideas of using a spreadsheet. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is what program to use. You probably used Google Sheets before, but we're going to be using Excel because it has some extra features. There are other programs we could use that aren't installed on our system. Microsoft Excel is the one that we've chosen. You'll be looking for a green icon, and remember, this is saved on your computer. It's not from the internet, it's not from the web like Slides or Sheets or Google Docs. It is on your computer. So to open it, press the Windows key. It could be on your desktop. You may find it on the list here. You can see I've used it quite a bit, or you can start typing Excel 2016. And in fact, I'm going to open up a file that I've got ready to go. So you can see a couple of things straight away. We've got tabs here with some of the features that were in menus and some extra things than Sheets has. And most of the rest of the screen is made up of these little boxes called cells. Each cell has got a letter and a number to tell us where on the screen it is. So this one is A1. And if I go here, I've got E6. You can see they're highlighted so I can easily read off what that cell reference is. It's always the letter first, then the number. And we can have a whole column, a line of cells going up and down the page. That has just a letter, that is the column E. And we can have a whole row. Row 7 has a number, goes across the page. Cells, columns and rows will be very useful when we're making calculations in a few minutes. Now over here, I've got tabs across the bottom, so I've got some things set up that I can move to across the bottom of the screen. But over here I've got a calculation. I want to add together 1 and 2. Now I could just type in 3 because obviously I know the answer. But the downside of that is if one of these numbers changes, I've got to do the maths again. Another way is I could type the number 4 plus 2. I could do the calculation that way and it will work it out correctly straight away. But again, if I want to change those numbers, change it back to 1, it doesn't update. So here's what we do. We start with an equals. Every calculation, whether it's a formula or a function, is going to start with an equals. This formula is then going to be click on the number 1 rather than typing it, and it fills in the cell reference for me, D4, plus. I'm going to click on the next cell reference, which is E4, and it will fill it. Now I can type in those letters and numbers. I find it quicker to click. You may find it easier to write an E, to type in an E and a 4. It's up to you. It will work the same. And it will calculate the answer. And again, if I change this, watch what happens instantly. It updates the number to the correct one. And however many calculations are on my screen, it will update them all instantly when I change any data. Now we've got some other symbols we need to know about. We've got add, we've got subtract, we've got a star, an asterisk for multiply, and a / for divide. So let's just try those out. Equals 3 plus 5 gives us 8. Equals 7 minus 2 gives us 5, as expected. Now remember the cell references here. We've got E7, star for multiply, F7. 3 lots of 4 is 12. And let's do equals E8 divided by F8. That's 8 divided by 2 gives us 4, exactly as we'd expect. Sometimes we don't want to do it the long way though, because if we were adding together all 4 of these numbers, adding with the plus sign every single time could get a bit annoying, especially if we get much bigger spreadsheets where we've got maybe tens or 20, 30 rows of data that we want to add up. So we can use some shortcuts. Functions are the shortcut. Now we can find these here. The sum function is the one I want right now. If I hover over it, it tells me it's going to automatically add it up. So if I click that, it chooses what it's going to add up and draws a box around it. Now I can choose that for myself if I want to reset. It says equals and then sum means add up, and then it says G5 colon G8. That means the range of cells that goes from G5 to G8 will be all added up together. And again, if I change one of these numbers, everything else changes too. So that number changed and that number changed too. we can make our spreadsheet look more interesting than this. We can do all sorts of things, from changing fonts, changing sizes, changing the colour of the text, that's the one with the A on, or changing the colour of the background. We can put a border on there. We can even change that into money, English pounds. We can change it into percentages. We can change how many decimal places show up. And we can make our spreadsheet look a lot more interesting. But sometimes long amounts of text don't all fit into one cell easily. That's fine if the next cell across is empty, there's nothing in here. But as soon as I put something in, the writing that's there is covered up. It's still here, I can see it in the formula bar, but it doesn't show up for me to be able to read on screen. There's a few things we can do. We can resize the column by moving the mouse between the E and the F onto the line here and dragging that wider. Still got to go wider. I can make it instantly the right size by double clicking. But what if I don't want to have a really wide column? Well, I can put it back to here and I can use something called wrap text. That will turn a long line of text into multiple lines, so it goes over 2, 3, 4 lines, however many it needs. There we go, 4 lines. I can make that onto 3 actually, and I can resize this row. That looks much better. You now have all the skills you need for the spreadsheet on The Simpsons that you're going to be starting in a moment when your teacher shows you where to find it.